In this video, I'm going to explain all of the updates to the label manager. So let's start with settings. So I go into settings, see I have multiple variables that I can set. Mode defaults to configuration mode, but you can change, add modes. For example, if under most circumstances you want to work within a certain folder, and copy from a certain folder that the Paggy software is storing images to, you can set up a configuration. So enable checkout, for example, which will show a checkout button here. So you can pull images from the folder in which the Paggy software is storing images to. So if I enable checkout, I go to my checkout folder. Right now I have this set to check out from this folder. So whenever you hit the checkout button, it's going to go look in this folder for new images. User is just used for metadata, so you want to use your initials. Submit folder is where we place the images after we've labeled them. So when we hit the submit button, the images will go there. Just images that are labeled. So anything that's not labeled is going to get deleted. So be aware of that. You should finish off that entire folder before you do a submit. Now, if you choose to only label some and there's other bad images in there, that's fine. Just it's a way of getting rid of things you don't want. So the local folder is where the images are stored to. So we move them from the shared drive to the local to reduce latency in that case. So that explains those settings. Like I said, you can have multiple modes and you can switch between modes on the fly. So what I want to do to start is I'm going to go and work in a non-training folder. So let's just say that I'm working with this PB3 machine and I want to work within the 1201 part number. So the program senses that I'm outside of the training directory, so it asks me, do you want to go find the detector to use for this set? And it loads the detector in from QC Hero based on the API that you have set up. Say I want to put these in clips, I could say clips. Notice the detector name changes. I can also just name this whatever I want. So say I want to call it clips 2, and then I go ahead and label. So when I'm in labeling in a kind of a raw folder, if there's some labels that were produced by Paggy, they'll show. If, for example, we haven't set up any kind of detection, there's not going to be any labels on this, so I can label as I want. So let's call this whole. So if you double click this control, the keyboard opens. I'm going to call this whole. There can be a lot of holes. Whole. Control D does a copy. I can just copy this. My mouse is a little finicky these days, so it doesn't slide over very well, but this is just for example purposes. And so let's call this debris. And then I can arrow, so I can arrow to the next. You notice if I arrow back, nothing's saved. It's completely expected behavior because I'm working outside the training folder. So I don't really want to modify. This program is meant to just move things when in the training mode of operations. So when I have the submit checkout set to true, it's not going to allow me to do any labeling here. It's just going to allow me to save these images. So S is the hotkey for save. Say I want to save that one. That one's got some debris in it too. I'll save that one, save that one, save that one. It's actually got some debris up here as well. So say I was just going through this, I was just trying to find items with debris. There's another debris, no debris, so I skip past this one. And you just notice I'm just arrowing Okay, so once I finish reviewing this raw images folder is what I would call it, then I can go ahead and go into it. So you'll notice it's going to take me to the folder, my local folder, which I have set to unlabeled 2. And there'll be a folder for today's date with detectors in it. So I was just working on Eclipse 2. So if I go to Eclipse 2, load the labels, there's no labels in it. There's nothing labeled. Because all that was doing is just moving things over to this folder. So now I can do real labeling. So notice if I do holes, I'm not going to label all the holes, but this is for example purposes. So we could call this one debris. I'm going to call this a defect. Okay, so also notice if I highlight this and I hit the delete button, it goes away. I can go ahead and re-add it, or I can hit this. This is basically a clear button. Nothing was saved, so let's go ahead and make this debris, save, delete it, hit the clear button. It's going to ask me if I want to save my changes. If I say no, it's just going to bring the debris back. So another thing that you can do if you're not over an image, for example, so escape kind of clears out everything. If I'm just somewhere where there's not an actual object and I hit delete, it deletes the whole label off. So that label got deleted off. Okay, so debris. If I go back, that debris is there. Debris, and notice like the program does sense which direction I'm headed. So if I want to just get rid of a label, it's going to go back if I was going backwards. If I'm going forward, make debris, and then delete, it goes forward. So this is the expected behavior of the program. And you should definitely use your hotkeys. Make you go faster. Okay, I do notice that I missed a few debris in here. So call that debris. Oh, it's bigger than I wanted. So let's shrink this up. As I said, my mouse is acting a little funny, so this will work better with a more working mouse, or better working mouse. Okay, so let's just go back. Make sure that we got the debris labeled properly in all of these. Okay, so I'm done. I can go ahead and reload labels. Now it'll show the labels. I can do advanced type stuff as usual. So I'll go to advanced search, search for all the images with holes. This just brings up the one image that I labeled the hole on. So I can go ahead and delete that. There's debris there. I don't think there's debris anywhere else. So normal type labeling stuff. But then when I'm ready in this mode, I go ahead and submit. And it's going to ask me if you want to submit this, because you cannot change it once you move it. Or you're going to end up with some deleted off labels. So go ahead and hit yes. So now this is saying I got no more images to label. So now I can go ahead and do a checkout if there's folders. So there's no images to label. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of rig this up. So let's see how we rig this up. So if I go to my checkout folder, figure out where this is at, I'm just going to do a copy of this. Also notice while I'm here that this little settings button will allow you to change the API to the QC Hero. So now I'm going to go into just regular Windows. Shrink this up a bit so you can see what's going on. I'm going to go to the checkout folder. We'll notice it's empty, just to be expected. So let's go ahead and just copy some images over to it. So I go to training, labeled. I'm just going to pick a folder in which I've got some images already stored. I'm going to go ahead and use this folder, and I'm going to just for so you understand the flow of things, I'm going to go ahead and set it up like as if the Pachy were the one that's stored to this folder. So I'm just kind of going back so I can get into the Sasha folder. So let's go ahead and create a new folder. I'm going to call it today's date. This should actually be like this. Okay, in the Pachy, in this case, let's just say it's storing these images to D1000 debris only. So that's like a commonized detector that we have set up. So I go in there, go ahead and paste those images in. So we're just pretending that it came right off of the Pachy. So we're going to go ahead and close, and we're going to check out. So it's showing that there's no new images, which we definitely put a folder in there. But the reason is that the checkout process does not work on the same day's folder. The reason being is that the Pachy is likely storing images today at that folder. So I'm going to go ahead and just change the date on it, and this will work. So go ahead and hit OK. Go back to this folder. I'm going to rename these just a day difference. So now to checkout. And as soon as I check out, I'll pull these in. It'll set the detector name as it's stored, and I'll have all these labels, and then I can go through labeling as usual. So let's see, go to label, and I can just start deleting off labels. Say I don't want these boxes, for example. So now I'm just going to go delete, 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 get rid of those boxes. Kind of keep my eye out for any debris that's in here as well in the process. I'm going to delete these off until I get to the end. Okay, this one does have some debris in it. Let's get a label down on that one. Make sure, so I'm just double checking I got everything labeled correctly. Notice that these are already labeled, so it's taking me to the back. Another thing that this version of the program will do, if I hit the control button and back, it'll take me to the very beginning of this folder. So now I can just make sure that this debris is labeled. We got some debris elsewhere, it looks like, too. So we got some little debris here. Big debris here. Big debris here. This debris over here. So always you want to make sure that you are diligent about your labeling. Come on, mouse. debris there, no debris there. Okay, so we're at the end. So when I arrow at this point, it should close the program, specifying error at the end, and then we can go ahead and load labels. We shouldn't have any more of those boxes. We should have debris only for 9 of the images. So again, now if I submit, yes, and it goes back, it says there's no new images. So I would have to wait for the next day. I can certainly go over to the verified, which is where these are being stored. You can see I got multiple folders. I'm going to go into this clips too, which I did earlier. So it is going to sense that we're not in a training folder at this point. So I'm going to say cancel. It's going to tell me I should enter my detector here.